Originally, I had intended for this remaster to be a grander project than it actually ended up being. I wanted to make a longer, more comprehensive review of the Mystara Player's Guide by Mr. Welch over on YouTube, link in the description. But I have resolved that in order to preserve my sanity and not waste too much time on this project, I'm just going to have to make a shorter and more concise review. So, welcome to the remaster of the review of the Mystara Player's Guide using the current version. I have the print-on-demand physical copy next to me. I can use it as a reference, I can carouse through it, and hopefully this won't take forever, yeah? So yeah, let's get started. I'm Victor D20 and welcome back. So, obviously the first things that we gotta tackle with this review is who wrote the player's guide, why, and what is it about. This is probably going to be the shorter section of the review, but first of all, so the player's guide was written by Mr. Welch, Glenn Welch. He is on here on YouTube. Like I said, I have linked his channel in the description, and you should go check him out because he makes excellent content from RPG reviews to well, a lot of Mystara content, which is the why. He's very passionate about Mystara, and honestly, I don't blame him. This is an excellent setting. I absolutely love Mystara myself. And I've been trying to run some games. Hasn't been going too great so far, but you know, that's just the problem of finding players. But yeah. So, with that out of the way, the last thing that we need to cover is what is Mystara actually about. And Mystara as a setting is, think of D&D with actual historical nations. You've got Romania, Rome, well I mean it's more like a Rome, Greece, HRE, Prussia, China, weird. It's a weird mix. And you've got your Middle Eastern setting. You've got your India to the far west. You've got your Vikings. You've got your big republic full of capitalists. It's a crazy setting, and it works excellently. Mr. Welch has put a lot of work into this, and I am looking forward to covering everything in the good and the bad, which the good outweighs the bad. And yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into the good. So, obviously the first good thing I have to praise this book for is the layout. Everything is laid out excellently. First thing that most of the players are going to see is the map of the known world, the main setting of Mystara, which is massive. You've got plenty of adventure hooks in the known world, outside of the known world, even more so, and especially if you use some of the fan-made content over on the Vaults of Pandius, which I will also link in the description. The first chapter, it doesn't cover player options, it actually covers the settings timeline, the various nations. Let's see, what else does it cover? Well, but there's a lot of nations. It has a list of all the major cities. There is the centers of learning, locations of ill repute, and the lands of intrigue, such as the Good Kingdom and the fighting pits of Thyadis, the Isle of Dawn and the Isle of Dread, and the world below, which is not like the Underdark. I cannot stress this enough, it is nothing like the Underdark. There's information on the crimes and punishment, the months and dates of the known world, as well as is that a lunar calendar? I'm not too sure, but it's got, there's also various different calendar naming schemes, as well as holidays and heads of state. The most wanted One of whom is Bargle the Infamous. Only a 5,000 gold bounty. I feel like they're really underselling Bargle. Bargle should be like a 50,000 gold bounty. There's some dread creatures for DMs to take ideas. The coinage of the known world, which nation has which coin. Then there are some factions like the Adventurers Club, the Darrakan Diplomatic Corps, the Haldonic Order, the Bragmati, and the Siswa. And then, after that, we get to the player options, and there are a lot of them. From pages 60, no, from pages 85 to... Oh, wow. One second. From pages 85 all the way to... Okay. 135, that's the one. Yeah, so there is at least 50 pages of player options, including some new sub-races for elves, such as the Shadow Elves, who are not like the Drow. They are cave fish. They are the palest thing you will ever find. The Belcadiz Elves, which are Spanish elves. Water Elves, who do not live underwater. They're just really good sailors. There's a new Dwarven sub-race as well, called the Rockborn. They replace every other kind of dwarf in Mystara, because dwarves are unable to use magic, or no, that's wrong. They're unable to use arcane magic due to some lore reasons, and they have magic resistance, and yeah, the Rockborn are cool. Then there's a comprehensive list of human ethnicities. You know what kind of national languages they start with. There's a blurb saying that Mystara does not have tieflings, genasi, Aasimar, or dragonborn. And then there's also like there's an explanation on how Alphasian Common and Thyasian Common are two different things, because those are two different empires at odds with each other, so of course they'd have different commons. Then there is a list of new races such as the dog-like Lupin, the sugar glider Fanatons, the feline Rakasta, and the immortal She. That's Sidhe. It's an Irish thing. There's also the Mystaran Tortle, who is better than the 5th edition Tortle, I'll say that right off the bat, as well as a couple of new new class things, like bards get new musical instruments. There is a comprehensive list of all the subclasses that each one gets, and yeah, then it's just a bunch of subclasses from page 98 to from 98 to 127. And if I had to pick some of my favorites from this list, I'd have to say it's the Gallowglass Fighter, the Goaty Cleric, the Disciple of the Radiance Sorcerer, and the Fire Wizard. I absolutely adore the Fire Wizard. Honorable mention to the Haldonic Knight Paladin subclass. But moving on from that, we have some new backgrounds, the Caravan Traveler and the Krondar backgrounds, with the Krondar specifically being for halflings, I believe. Yeah, but there's a Caravan Traveler and the Krondar background, as well as the Mixed Blood background, which is apparently very rare to be born of two different races. Which, you know, I mean, if the races don't mix, the races don't mix. They don't do that too much. Then there's the Sheared background, which is for Karamikan characters because of some... It's a traditional thing, I believe, in Karamikos, where the children are sent away on professions and then they return to their families afterwards. And then there's also the slave background, which, you know, if you're not comfortable being an ex-slave, just don't take it. You don't have to make a big deal out of it. No, that sounded bad, but you know what I'm trying to say. Then there's a bunch of new feats, like the Battle Chanter and Denial, which is only for the halflings, which are called Hin in this setting. It basically allows them to negate a spell that they can see. Some new feats also include, like, the Sciatis gladiatorial schools, such as the Milanex, the Haranama, and the Flavus. I'll probably put a picture of the gladiatorial helmets on screen. Afterwards, it's Immortals and the Divine, with various different pantheons being listed out. Then there's a comprehensive table covering every single immortal in Mystara. Well, not every single one, but the main ones. And one thing I gotta point out about immortals is they are not gods. Because unlike gods, immortals actually earn their goddamn place in the heavens. It's just that simple. Some of the ones that I personally enjoy reading about include Al-Khalim, the patron of the Emirates of Yalarum. Let's see, Ixion, the Lord of Light. Rad, he's just Rad. And Odin. Straight up just Odin. There's a write-up on each one, which, again, I cannot stress this enough. These are laid out excellently. And there is also a cleric domain for each of the spheres of immortality. The energy domain, the entropy domain, the matter domain, the thought domain, and the time domain. Each one gets unique abilities, which are unique to their chosen sphere of immortality. And overall, they are fairly well balanced, in my experience. After that, it's spells, and there are a lot. There are a lot of spells. In fact, there are so many spells that... oh, wow, that's a lot of spells. There's also... Oh, right. Can't forget about the Nordic rune magic, which is a complicated process that could kill your character if you actually fail it. It is rather difficult to actually acquire the runes, but the runes do come with with excellent benefits. On top of that, characters from Galantry can take a prestige class known as a craft mage. And the different craft mages are alchemy, cryptomancy, which has nothing to do with the currency, dracology, which allows you to turn into a dragon if you succeed, elementalism, thanatology, which is just necromancy on crack, and witchcraft. Each one comes with a unique penalty, or rather penalties in some cases, but the powers that you get with each circle of your chosen craft, they do make for quite the show at the functions. Then there's also a write-up on the science of magic and some Mystara optional rules. Then there's a write-up on the Radiance, which is a unique kind of magic in Mystara, which the Radiance is a thing that I believe Glenn has covered in a video before, so just look on his channel. I'm pretty sure he's got a write-up on that. And afterwards, it is goods and services, which has rules for magic item availability. Ad-libbing is a pain in the ass. Major imports and exports in different nations, the great markets of the known world, all of the known guilds in the nations of Darrakin and Minerthad, which are notorious for capitalistic tendencies. Then there's also entertainments of Mystara, such as the Alphasian game of Hardball, which is... I tried running a Hardball game once, and it was quite difficult. There's also a table for castle and stronghold construction, gladiatorial games, jousting, and then there is a bunch of different catalogs for in-world stores or traders. And it ranges from weapons to foods, and finally, I have to praise the indices. The index in this damn book is so comprehensive. It's only a few pages long, and I still feel like with this index I can find everything I'm looking for. There's like everything I could possibly need is in this index. It's a great book, but I have noticed even with this newest version that there are still some typos. I can't name them off the top of my head now, but yeah, now we gotta talk about the bad. Like I said, there are some typos. Like I said, I don't exactly remember where all of them are. It could also be that I just imagined them, but you know, if you see them, just don't let those ruin the experience for you, because what this book has is so good. It's got a good layout, it's got an abundance of information, it's got tons of player options, it's got a great index, and it's got cool mechanics for everyone to use. But there is also the problem with the maps. I think the maps are laid out a little poorly. The maps are done by Thorfinn Tate, and again, I will link his maps in the description, or rather the website where he has all his maps, and you can take a look at those yourself. But yeah, no, I mean, they looked good in previous versions, certainly, but now it's just kind of, when I try to, like, you know, when I try to go through this, it's a little glaring that yeah, I mean, that's all I really can say about it. It's a little, it's kind of glaring when you're going through it, and then the maps are just, the maps are laid out poorly. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And that's basically the bad. So, with the good and the bad out of the way, I think it is high time that we move on to the conclusions and the final rating. So, my final conclusion and my final rating for the Mystara Player's Guide. It is a product of love. It is excellently laid out. I have already covered everything good and bad about it. The maps, God, the maps! It's just, they're just splayed out on the page. It's just, it doesn't look good. They used to have cool frames around them, and there used to be a scale of how many miles was it per hex. It doesn't have that anymore by the looks of it. It's just, it's not great. But at the same time, it doesn't completely take me out of it either. So with that in mind, I give the Mystara Player's Guide an 8.5 out of 10. It is excellent. It is fantastic. You should absolutely get it, and you should give Glenn money. Mr. Welch needs money to fund the Mystara Dungeon Master's Guide that is currently being worked on. It's got more world information, it's got adventure hooks, it's got mechanics. You need this book, and you need the Dungeon Master's Guide. Absolutely fantastic. I have been Victor D20, and I will see you again in some other time, in some other video. Probably, I don't know. Will I ever actually do anything with this damn YouTube channel? Who knows? Thank you, and goodbye.